Good evening, Patriots, and welcome to the Q Lounge Live. Hi, I'm your host, Shady Groove, and it's this Friday night. It is just after 9 p.m. on the East Coast, 6 p.m. on the West Coast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome tonight. Had a couple little glitches right there. Seems like always something going on, but I think we are 5 by 5. You can let me know out there if we're 5-5, guys. Looks like the chat is rolling. Thank you so much for being here. I apologize for the distance since the last Q Lounge. It's been almost 3 months, and I was having so many technical difficulties at the other place that I decided to maybe just wait because the technical stuff is getting to my head a little bit, and now it seems like everything's looking good out there. Looks good. Rolling, everybody. Hey, welcome. Thanks for coming around. What a show. What a show. What a show, guys. I would like to say to you, if you are here and you are new to Q, welcome. This is an amazing group of people. They are here to bring you the sauce and to share information and to let you know what's going on with the links and stuff that we'll be talking about here in a little bit. And also, any other questions that you have, feel free to ask. These people are amazing patriots, and we work diligently together every day to bring you the Matrix Groove Hour and this show as well. They support us and help us here and are here to help you as we start to enter into a different type of audience, maybe an audience that isn't as familiar with the Q stuff or confused about what's going on in the media and just learning, just wanting to know. So welcome to everyone for coming around. You will not find a greater group of people. We gather here in circle so that we can discuss some of the more intricate things going on in our world and how they relate to you and how they relate to us. But I would like to first at the top mention all of the new Discord and Q Army members on the channel here, the intheMatrixxx channel. You guys are amazing. I have had such a great time getting to know you over the last little bit and learning so much from you and hanging out and having fun. It's been a great addition to the channel. Also here you can do for the $4.99 a month, you can get these little great emojis you see all the guys with out there. So much love to you for the support and much love to all of the Patriots right now who are possibly in harm's way out there. And I think a lot of you know what I am referencing whenever I talk about that. But the show is called We Have Broken Them. And that is going to play right into the narrative that is going to be, I think, in the near future, very, very hard to explain to people. How in the world could they be so corrupt? How in the world could every single thing that they say be a lie? How in the world can they consistently, out of stupidity, get everything wrong, guys? They're not getting things wrong. They are doing stuff intentionally. They're intentionally trying to hurt your president. They're intentionally trying to hurt us. They're intentionally trying to hurt patriots. And they're intentionally trying to spread fear among the men and women of the world. And they're doing a pretty decent job of it, if you ask me. It seems like everybody is all worked up and scared to death, even though the numbers don't line up with the virus stuff that's going on. Yes, there's quite a number of people who are sick, and the numbers keep escalating as the testing accrues, but they're also never telling you the numbers of all the people who actually get better or how the hospitals don't really have things going on whenever they're pretending like stuff is going on. We have a lot to get into tonight. And I think I'm going to start by, thank you, everyone who has supported us in any way. Matrix and I have been relentlessly attacked, and we come on every day at 1 p.m., 1300 Eastern Time, and we bring what we think is the truth of what we're seeing in our reality. And we bat this stuff around amongst all of us and each other, and we try to present things in a way that are very transparent and very open and very honest and without an agenda. And that's part of our goal, is to bring citizen journalism to you without a ne'er-do-well agenda, right? But one thing we have to think about as we move through this next little bit of time here, is we have to think about the ties that bind you, the ties that bind all of us. And we have to think about a very, very much broader picture of what the plan is and what the landscape is and what the architecture is of everything that we're seeing going on in our world. This is not an easy thing that you're seeing happen with the plan and all of the pieces working together and shifting and the grounds underneath shifting and people thinking differently and all of these nuances of debate and disinformation that are out there. So I thought I would start tonight a little bit on the personal side. And I thought that I would maybe just spend a few minutes here at the beginning and speak to you from the heart, but from my own experience. And so I would like to let everyone know that my journey into conspiracy started a long time ago, started in the early 90s with my beautiful wife, who is with me every day and has been with me every step of the way. But we learned some disturbing things a long time ago, some very disturbing things. And we were researching into the conspiracy stuff, and we ended up getting into the more in detailed things like the David Icke stuff, and then the history stuff, and then obviously the trafficking, slavery, child abuse, ritual sexual abuse, all those different things that are very hard to talk about. And so if you're new to the channel out there, I would just like to say, or if you're new to the show, that having personal experience with people who have gone through satanic ritual abuse, it's not pretty. Okay? It's not good. The mind gets damaged in a way that is very hard to explain to someone who hasn't gone through it. And people that have gone through it can't explain it to you. Think about that for a second. You want information and someone has no clue how to share that with you, right? We're looking at something that is extraordinarily dark, extremely gross, and on its face, batted around in the mainstream media like a political toy of human trafficking. It's not a political toy. It's a real life experience for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. And so back whenever I was first red-pilled, I obviously started digging into all this stuff, and a few years went by, and I ended up meeting people who were under the spell, who were directly under the spell of what you would call the Illuminati compartmentalized MK Ultra program. A family, no less. In my experience with this family and the ties that bind, the ties that bound them, the secrecy, the fear, not knowing who to trust, having told people and them not believed them, looking for a way out of the darkness can be very, 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 very hard. There is not people out there with open arms at every street corner to say, hey, how can I help? What can I do? And then whenever they find someone that offers help, a lot of the times they're not believed. A lot of the times they're mocked. A lot of the times they're taken advantage of again. So the ties that bind them to that evil are the same ties that bind us to them, that evil. What we're seeing in our real world is the connection being made clearer. We're seeing those connections being made clearer. One day at a time. This is not going to be a massive, huge red pill, guys. And there's reasons for that. Look at the way the media exploit every single story they get. Look at the way they go after people. Look at the way they dox people. Look at the way they attack people's families. You know, the Richard Jewell thing, different instances. Every single time, once they get a name and a person, if it goes against their narrative, then they're all over you, attacking your family. Kavanaugh, look at all this stuff. Look at the just mean-spirited nastiness that they levy against humanity every single day. The media, I mean. So within my experience of helping my friends break that bond, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about what compartmentalization of the mind means. I learned a lot about how MK Ultra works. I learned a lot about divisionary tactics. I learned a lot about fear. And what you're seeing right now play out on the world stage is exactly the same thing, everyone. The same thing. It isn't some of it, isn't a piece of it. It's the exact same thing. All of us are fighting the exact same enemy. Diligently, relentlessly, we fight every day as Anons for those voices whom cannot speak. For those people who don't know there's anyone out there who cares. So your thoughts and prayers that are directed towards the unknown people that are in these situations are very valuable. And I see you guys out there every day praying for them, blessing them, thinking about them, holding them in your spirit, holding them in your heart, your spirit. And that's what we have to do as patriots. Our job as patriots will not be to stand and point at a bunch of kids being rescued and saying, look at what they did. Look at what they did. You see what they did? It's not going to be our job. That's not who we are, and that's not why we came here. Our job is much different than that. Our job is to find out who and how we can help those people and lend an ear who can hear. And get what I'm saying there? Lend an ear who can hear. Not lend an ear that can drive a narrative. Not lend an ear that can say, I told you so. Not lend an ear that says, I don't believe you. We are all, as humanity, coming together right now at a time and in a moment that's unprecedented. We have never seen anything like this. It's been a few months since I've been on the air doing the show, but through the whole impeachment thing, turned into this corona thing, turned into a worldwide panic that's being driven by a media that knew what it was they were going to do before they started to do it. It's not stupidity. So as all of us get together here, each on any of these shows, all of the great Anon shows that are out there, all of the great Patriot shows that are coming up, all of the people that are sticking their necks out in their own communities, all of you who are decided to tell somebody you, hey, did you read Q? Right? These conversations are going to get much more broad and much more clear. But at the same time, there is an evil side to this that most human minds cannot absorb, cannot at all absorb. And I think that's a big part of the reason why Q let us know that the truth wouldn't be for everyone. So we're going to go through a good amount of stuff here tonight. But I wanted to share that with you simply because I want you to understand that I understand. And I've spoken with a number of you through DMs on Twitter and social media and stuff that have gone through these experiences. And I know what you're going through because I've watched it firsthand. I've watched people come out of it firsthand. And I know how hard it was. And I know what it meant for them to get to the other side. And it was a beautiful thing to see a family go on in their life and be productive and successful after suffering so much trauma. So I wanted to let you all know right at the beginning that you are the cure. And the cure is more than an antidote. The cure is a cure. A cure is a cure. That means no more. the virus that feeds on us will soon be no more. And I really do believe that the patriots in our administration and different municipalities around the country are working very hard together to make sure that we do this right. All of it. Whether it's stopping the trafficking, whether it's ending the corruption, whether it's leveling the political playing field, the social media playing field for conservative voices to be equal to those of the radical left. All of these things I find very important, and I feel like you do too. Our collective consciousness has come to a precipice, and in a moment, the whole world is going to know why. The whole world is going to understand that the international banking global cartel mafia are our problem. That is what our problem is. The cabal. Across the board. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And what we're seeing in the administration this past week, and Matrix and I have went over it quite extensively. If you haven't caught the Matrix Groove show now, because we never get it done in an hour, please come over and catch us and go back and catch some of the past episodes. But the show today was extra special having Carly and JT there, because we understand that we're seeing something that no one has ever witnessed in the course of human history before. None of us have ever witnessed this before. We don't know exactly what we're seeing, but we know we've never seen it before. And we know we've never been in a place to win like this before. So as we move into some of the interesting Q stuff, I'm going to tie some of this back together with what I was just talking about. With division. With division. Mind control is division. Mind control is compartmentalization of the human mind. And that's how it operates. Communism is much the same, guys. Much the same. So I'm going to start here tonight with this piece. Get you guys over here. I hope we're rolling. It looks like we're rolling good, guys. I had a little hiccup at the very beginning because the computer froze up on the audio, but I think we are live and good. I closed a couple things down. I was hoping to be able to pay attention to the chat, but of course, something goes haywire right at the beginning. Let's jump over here. And I want to read you this real quick. And I do apologize for the cursor. The cursor will now be relevant to your screen because I can't get rid of it in the software now. And I'm going to clean this up as I go along. The plan equals you got like 3 years to get your junk together because we know what you've been up to. And April 10th, 2020, we're revealing just enough of your stuff so that it won't destroy the minds of everybody, destroying humanity and breaking down all the good parts of our human infrastructure. In order to repair the damage you have done, we are going to have to reveal that you exist and some of what you are doing. This will allow good leadership to guide humanity into a future it controls, not you. And they can't know everything, but we're going to make sure some of them do. Just the ones that can handle it. So it goes down in history. We want everyone to know what you've done. So we're going to make sure it seeds nice and softly, and we all recover by giving a 3-year training course on your BS to the very people you wanted to remove from existence. You sick blanks, all of you forever, mocks devil horns, tongue sticking out, devil noise, la 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 la. And listen up. We're going to taunt you the whole time. You got some cool stuff, but our stuff is cooler. We also know how to use our stuff, and we're using it for good, not evil. So you got 3 years to sort out what you're doing or who's doing what. You pick how the public remembers you, because that's all they're going to be able to do after we're done. And around 10/28/17, it was made official that Hillary Clinton's arrest date to begin the processes related to the trials of her crimes against humanity would occur 10/30/2020. This event started a clock for her and for the world. She's such a big player that her particular arrest would make a very significant ripple in the world's socio-political landscape. And I think that it might be cut off here a little bit. That wasn't necessarily going to be the first arrest, though. But before that particular ripple could occur, because it could easily turn into a tidal wave of irreparable damage to the recovery of the human species in terms of mental health, the information campaign portion of the plan began. The plan. You know, the Great Awakening. Ever heard of it? It's nothing. It's just a plan to save the human race from the clutches of a Satan-worshipping cult with the intent to control the planet's population and kill dissenters by altering public opinion about topics over time and installing influencers worldwide to change social and legal norms to be more aligned with their goals. No biggie. Because of the severity of the various crimes against humanity, it was decided to cede the information to the public using an internet free speech board quietly protected by the full weight of every power of the U.S. military and U.S. government resources. It would go by the pseudonym Q. Q is just part of the plan, a vital part. And this is where we come in to the story, Anons. Anons are the seeds that will grow the tall trees of truth and drop more seeds when they mature, creating an invariable jungle of truth seekers. Anons are the embodiment of the very people they want to remove. Because we cause tons of problems by seeking the truth and catching them in their horrible acts and reminding others about it, they want us dead. And we're going to instead be the beacon of light the whole world needs in order to accept that what's occurring is truly occurring. Anons are the only ones that would believe in it the first place, and they would be the ones to spread the information far and wide. It would take less than 3 years to warn Anons, teach Anons, comfort Anons, and prepare Anons to brace for the date of sudden realization of what's going on. So it was planned that 4/10/20 an event would occur. It would shock the worldwide public mentally, but prepare them for their arrests and changes that would start occurring and the likely chaos that would ensue. By revealing a major component of the story to the public, the event would need to include a complete shutdown of communication channels countrywide and a message to every American citizen directly from an official source. The message will likely inform the public about the institution of martial law and a massive wave of arrests, evenings, and events incoming. The message would likely inform all American citizens about the situation, including Q. When the communication channels come back on, people would flock to the internet, wanting to learn more about Q's thousands of communications, which would be freshly stocked with subject matter experts with untouchable offline proofs. In order to any of this to even be remotely believable, to ensure the seeds sprouted as intended, the information campaign created a spider web of clues and confirmations to prove the story true to very astute observers and those in the know. It also would serve as a vehicle to communicate with them during that time, as well as to spread the word to lesser thems worldwide, warning of their demise if they didn't cooperate. Q would serve as a direct communication to the world as a whole all at once. Thus, disinformation is necessary. At different times, Q was communicating. Directly with the combination of good guys, bad guys, and observers. Because of the power of this, Q served as somewhat of a tool to direct and redirect their actions. Thus, these people are stupid, thus moves and countermoves. With a simple internet post, the good guys could feign offensive, defensive actions, taunt, and also throw a powerful strike at any time in order to keep the plan in check. Q had to be someone that knew the plan in full, including moment-to-moment stuff. In the background, they would try everything in their power to stop what was coming. They would know what was coming and possibly when, but they didn't know how uncomfortable the journey was going to be. They started to use the resources they've accumulated over the years to defend themselves. These tactics aren't usually obvious to the public, which is why they worked for so long. So Q would have to point out what it looks like when actors are acting as part of what is called the Great Awakening. If only a few seeds actually got planted, it would still be enough to repair the damage caused by undoing this evil. At the end of the 3 years, enough of the public worldwide would be talking about it, forcing it to go down in history and disallowing anything like this to ever occur again. What happens afterwards will be history. Thus, future proofs past. Now, that's a really great synopsis there. And I do understand in there it says the date, 4/10/20, and we don't necessarily like to call out dates, and I'm not trying to call out a date by reading this post. It is a big speculation about the dates in the 4/10/20 and Easter coming around, the president pointing to these things. Pretty amazing. But Q has not said any dates, and we're not taking Q as saying any dates. We are looking for the future proving the past. That's the beauty of this whole operation. Future proves the past. Now, we have here the latest Q posts. And this linked to, I think it was Iron Belly. Yep, here it is. Or no, wait, where is it? This one. Q linked us to RIP Federal Reserve. This is huge. This scheme essentially merges the Fed and the Treasury into one organization. So meet your new Fed chairman, Donald John Trump. That's the head of the snake. That is the, right there, the Luciferian, communist, worldwide, globalist, dictatorial cabal. Right there. That entity was just taken control of by the President of the United States. That entity is the reason for all of your strife. Not some. All. I say that very direct and clear. All. This is the head of the snake. This is what Q has been pointing us to. This is what we're talking about. The trust, the Pesor trust that backed the Federal Reserve is what is under attack by Patriots and the president. And from the Q post, right after he posted infiltration instead of invasion from the Kennedy speech, he posts that. Infiltration instead of invasion plugs right into the Fed and the creation of the Fed and the way that they took over our country. Infiltration instead of invasion plays right into the alt media and what they're doing to discredit you people. Infiltration instead of invasion plays right into every system on planet Earth is infiltrated by clowns. And it's headed up by this. So what we saw this week was the president, or this past week, passed the stimulus, quote unquote, package and took $6.2 trillion off the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve. Now, say what you will. $6.2 trillion that the president moved to Treasury. There could not be a clear message for people out there who are following Q. There could not be a clearer message. All the posts, all the trust, everything culminated, the usurpation of our country, the 1871 nullification of our Constitution, the Trading with the Enemy Act, the removal of the gold, all of this spearheaded by this organization and the trusts that back it. All. Now, I get it. There's tons of stuff out there that we can be looking at. But there is nothing more important than this. It is very, very, very simple. So simple. Your Constitution is beautiful and grand, and your republic is beautiful because of two very simple things. Your ability to keep and have and hold your gold, and your ability to defend it with force with a firearm against anyone who tries to take it from you. That's what your Constitution grants you. Your freedom of speech prevents the state. The Constitution, giving you freedom of speech, prevents the state from being able to take away your rights. Doesn't give them to you. The Constitution prevents them from even having jurisdiction over your rights. But it's funny how everyone makes the point that, oh, they're taking our constitutional rights away. No, we're not defending them. We're not standing up for them. That's our fault. We've done that. We're not asking where the stuff comes from. We're not asking why this is made here. We're not asking any of those questions. Our fault. So I know there's a lot of people that are coming around, newer to Q and stuff. So I wanted to maybe real quick, this is post 79. And I'm bringing up post 79, and the mods out there I think have the links there for you. That has this together, post number 79 with the map here. But I want to read a couple of these that were very, very early Q posts. I'm not going to read them all. There's a bunch in this. I think there's 65 or 70 or something in this. But I want to read a few of these from the very beginning of the Q intel drops so that you can maybe get a better idea of possibly what's going on in our world right now. Q says SCIF, military intelligence. What is state secrets and how upheld in the Supreme Court? What must be completed to engage military intelligence over other three-letter agencies? What must occur to allow for civilian trials? Why is this relevant? What was Flynn's background? Why is this relevant? Why did Admiral Rogers, NSA, meet Trump privately without authority? Does POTUS know where the bodies are buried? Does POTUS have the goods on most bad actors? Was Trump asked to run for president? Why? By who? Was HRC next in line? Was the election supposed to be rigged? Did good people prevent the rigging? Why did POTUS form a panel to investigate? Has POTUS ever made a statement that did not become proven as true or fact? What is POTUS in control of? What is the one organization left that isn't corrupt? Why does the military play such a vital role? Why is POTUS surrounded by highly respected generals? Who guards former presidents? Why is that relevant? Who guards HRC? Why is Antifa allowed to operate? Why hasn't the Muslim Brotherhood been classified as a terrorist organization? What happens if Soros-funded operations get violent and engage in domestic terrorism? What happens if mayors, police, comms, chiefs do not enforce the law? What authority does POTUS have specifically over the Marines? Why is this important? What is Mueller's background? Military? Was Trump asked to run for president with assurance made to prevent tampering? How is POTUS always 5 steps ahead? Who is helping POTUS? Let's move into the next one. There are more good people than bad. The Wizards and Warlocks inside term will not allow another satanic evil POS country control our country. Realize Soros, Clinton's, Obama, Putin, etc. are all controlled by 3 families. The 4th was removed post-Trump's victory. 11-3, Podesta indicted. 11-6, Huma indicted. Manafort was placed into the Trump campaign as well as others. The corruption that will come out is so serious that deals must be cut for people to walk away. Otherwise, 70% of elected politicians would be in jail. You are seeing it already begin. A deep cleaning is occurring, and the prevention and defense of pure evil is occurring on a daily basis. They never thought they were going to lose control of the presidency, not just the Dems, and thought they had control since making past mistakes, JFK and Reagan. Godspeed, Patriots. P.S. Soros is targeted. Get the popcorn. Friday and Saturday will deliver on a MAGA promise. POTUS knows he must clean house government in order to free up and demonstrate who has authority in order to pass important legislation. This was always the priority. Remember, AG Sessions cannot look like an impartial player that is out to get all former Obama team members, as we need him for other important work. All will come into focus. And for anyone to think POTUS is not in control is kidding themselves. Also, he's 100% insulated with 0 risk of impeachment. 47-53. Why does Obama travel in advance of POTUS to foreign locations? Why is this relevant? Focus on the power of POTUS as it relates to the Marines. How can military intelligence be applied to prosecute bad actors and avoid corrupt agencies and judges? Biggest drop on poll. Above is reason why the shills are sliding, in case you didn't know. Shills log and send new info back to ASF for instructions. They use a 5-prong prepackaged injection. One post auto-generates 4 more at random designated times. Common drive of posts they all tap into. Since they misjudge the influence of the mainstream media, they are aggressively looking to censor throughout major platforms in exchange for CIA slush funds and worldwide access for expansion of said networks. Everything they do has been forecasted and prepared for. Why did Mueller meet POTUS one day prior to FBI announcement of Mueller could not be offered director due to previous term limits rule? Why is Pelosi begging for a new special counsel? What is Pelosi's net worth? How was this obtained given salary as a career official? Why is Pelosi's memory going? Could it protect against prosecution? How so? What if John McCain's surgery was fake? Well, why would this occur? What could this prevent potentially? What is the Mayo Clinic? Who sits on the board of directors there? Why do Dems want to control the black population? Why do they intentionally keep people poor and in need? Why do Dems project racism on a daily basis against ours? Why do black elected officials do the crazy talk on behalf of the Dems? How do Dems cover the historical facts of forming the Confederacy, the KKK, and oppose all things pro-black regarding legislation? What happens if the Ds lose the slave grip on the black population? Why do Ds, through the funding of the CIA, prop up and install Hollywood media assets? Does this fall within Operation Mockingbird? What were the historical advantages the Ds gained by having the mainstream media and famous people peddling their narrative? Who exposed the pedo network within Hollywood? You can't answer the above, but we'll laugh once disclosed details. The network which controls this false narrative, which in turn keeps the black population under control, is being dismantled. False, local, and national black leaders will be exposed next as shills for the D Party. Follow the money. Maxine Waters, a $4 million house, cash assets exceed $6 million. How is this possible? One example. All these questions help paint a full picture. Who did POTUS meet with yesterday? Was Attorney General Sessions there? How many military generals were in the White House list to attend a separate meeting? Those meetings have been combined. Why were certain rooms in the White House renovated? Where was the meeting on Monday? Why aren't phones allowed in this room? One of many. What firm was contracted to conduct the renovations? I've dumped some crumbs like this over the weekend, which started the intense shilling. All this point, we are far enough along you can paint the picture without risk of jeopardizing an operation. Who controls the National Guard? Why was the National Guard recently activated in select cities within the United States? Can the National Guard work in coordination with the Marines? Do conditions need to be satisfied to authorize? What former president used the military to save the Republic, and what occurred exactly? Lincoln. Biggest drop to ever be provided on poll. Study and prepare. The masses tend to panic in such situations. No war, no civil unrest, clean and swift. And I wanted to read those to you down to there. And like I said, there's 80 posts in this or whatever. They're really good to go back and read those because you start to get a different picture of what we're all looking at. Future proves past. It continues in multiple posts to talk about the deployment of the National Guard and civil unrest and what would happen if that did occur. One last one I'm going to read to you is this one. Q clearance Patriot. My fellow Americans, over the course of the next several days, you undoubtedly realize that we are taking back our great country, the land of the free, from the evil tyrants that wish to do us harm and destroy the last remaining refuge of shining light on POTUS order. We have initiated certain fail-safes that shall safeguard the public from the primary fallout, which is slated for 11/3, upon the arrest announcement of Podesta actionable 11/4. Notice that we started the corona shutdown on 3/11. Confirmation to the public of what is occurring will then be revealed and will not be openly accepted. Public riots are being organized in serious numbers in an effort to prevent the arrest and capture of more senior public officials. On the POTUS order, a state of temporary military control will be actioned and special ops carried out. False leaks have been made to retain several within the confines of the United States and prevent extradition. and special operators' necessity. Rest assured, the safety and well-being of every man, woman, and child of this country is being exhausted in full. However, the atmosphere within the country will undoubtedly be divided as so many have fallen for this corrupt and evil narrative that has long been broadcast. We will be initiating the emergency broadcast system, the EMS, Patriots. During this time will be an effort to provide a direct message avoiding the fake news to all citizens, organizations, and or people that wish to do us harm. During this time, we'll be met with swift fury. Certain laws have been pre-lifted to provide our great military the necessary authority to handle and conduct these operations at home. Wow. Infiltration instead of invasion. So that's going to lead me to the next Q post that I hope will play here for you guys, because this is the video that we put together this past week where we read these Q posts that were some that were reposts of Q posts. And a big thank you, if this works, to Christian Supreme, to Q'd Up, to QD, to Fiona, to LK, Matrix, Kiwi, Sue, Rocket, Jackie, for reading this. Because this is very powerful. Going with what we just talked about, connecting to the now. A person's value. 1. Vote. 2. Monetary value. Tax contribution. 3. Why is free thought ridiculed, challenged, and threatened when a person is opposed to the mainstream narrative? 2. Remains fixed. Degree allowable by economic recession and expansion. 1. Remains a variable. 1. Dependent on a controlled system of information dissemination. What happens when 90% of the media is controlled and owned by 6 corporations? What happens when those same corporations are operated and controlled by a political ideology? What happens when the news is no longer free from bias? What happens when the news is no longer reliable and independent? What happens when the news is no longer trustworthy? What happens when the news simply becomes an extension arm of a political party? Fact becomes fiction. Fiction becomes fact. When does news become propaganda? Identity creation.
How does the average person who is under constant financial stress by design find time to research and discern fact versus fiction? Majority of people more prone to believe someone in power sitting behind a big brand news name. Do people, human psyche, tend to follow the majority mainstream viewpoint in fear of being isolated and or shunned? Mainstream is used for a reason. Dominate trend in opinion. If a majority of people believe X, then X must be validated true. Why do mainstream media heads within different organizations always use the same keywords and or catchphrases? Coordinated? By who? Outside entity providing instructions? Do they count on the fact that people, human psyche, are more prone to believe something if heard over and over again by different trusted sources? Do echo chamber tactics provide validation credibility to the topic, point being discussed? Threat to intellectual freedom? Would control over of these institutions, organizations, allow for mass control of population's viewpoint regarding a desired topic? Read again. Digest. Would control over of these institutions, organizations, allow for the mass control of population's viewpoint regarding a desired topic? Logical thinking. Why, after the election of 2016, did D's and media corporations jumpstart a coordinated and planned divisive blitz intended to create falsehoods regarding illegitimacy of election, character assassination of POTUS through sexism, racism, and every other ism? Pre-post 2016 election, why were violent masked terror orgs such as Antifa immediately created and funded? Why were these organizations tasked with immediate intimidation, shutdown of any pro-POTUS rallies and or events? Why were marches immediately organized to counter and silence pro-POTUS rally and or events? Why were marches immediately organized which divided people into sex, gender, race-ism? When you control the levers of news dissemination, you control the narrative. Control of the narrative equals power. When you are blind, what do you see?
They want you divided. Divided by religion, divided by sex, divided by political affiliation, divided by class. When you are divided and angry and controlled, you target those different from you, not those responsible controllers. Divided, you are weak. Divided, you pose no threat to their control. When non-dogmatic information becomes free and transparent, it becomes a threat to those who attempt to control the narrative and or stable livestock kept sheep. When you are awake, you stand on the outside of the stable, groupthink collective, and have free thought. Free thought is a philosophical viewpoint which holds that positions regarding truth should be formed on the basis of logic, reason, and empiricism, rather than authority, tradition, revelation, or dogma. This represents a clear and present danger to the constitutional republic of the United States of America. Q.
Decide for yourself. Be free from outside opinion. Decide for yourself. Be objective in your conclusions. Decide for yourself. Be true in your own beliefs. Decide for yourself. Be open to following the facts. Decide for yourself. Be strong in defending your beliefs. Decide for yourself. Be resistant to blindly accepting factless statements.
Those that attack you, those that mock you, those who call you, those who control you, those who label you, do they represent you or do they represent themselves in some form? Mental enslavement.
The Great Awakening, freedom of thought, was designed and created not only as a back channel to the public, away from the long-standing mind control of the corrupt and heavily biased media, to endure future events through transparency and regeneration of individual thought, breaking the chains of groupthink, but more importantly, aid in the construction of a vehicle, a ship that provides the scattered free thinkers with a starter, new social networking platform which allows for freedom of thought, expression, patriotism, or national pride, feeling of love, devotion, and sense of attachment to a homeland and alliance with other citizens who share the same sentiment. When non-dogmatic information becomes free and transparent, it becomes a threat to those who attempt to control the narrative and or the stable. When you are awake, you stand on the outside of the stable, groupthink collective, and have free thought. Free thought is a philosophical viewpoint which holds that position regarding truth should be formed on the basis of logic, reason, and empiricism, rather than authority, tradition, revelation, or dogma. When you are awake, you are able to clearly see. The choice is yours and yours alone. Trust and put faith in yourself. You are not alone and you are not in the minority. Difficult truths will soon see the light of day. Where we go one, we go all. Q.
The entire world is watching. Patriots from around the world are praying for America. We're all bound by a feeling deep inside, a feeling that cannot be publicly expressed for fear of ridicule, a feeling that challenges the mainstream narrative against that which we are told to accept and dare not question. Put simply, that people are being abused by those in power and time is running out. Remember the battles of Lexington and Concord. Give me liberty or give me death. For far too long, we have been silent and allowed our bands of strength that we once formed to defend liberty and freedom to deteriorate. We became divided, we became weak. We elected traitors to govern us, We allowed evil to prey on us. Those who claimed to represent us gave us false hope, made false promises. The evil and corruption only grew.
This is more than party politics. This is about restoring old glory. This is about saving our land and our people from those who wish to harm. This is about preserving our republic. This is about preserving our safety. This is about restoring our strength. This is about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is about protecting our children. This is about saving America.
We are all God's children. We are fathers. We are mothers. We are daughters. We are sons. We are brothers. We are sisters. We do not look at race. We do not look at skin color.
We are united in these states of America. We are and will always be patriots. We must rise again. We must unite again. We must fight again for God and country. God bless America. Where we go one, we go all.
This is about saving America. Are your eyes leaking out there? Give me a 17 if your eyes are leaking. Give me liberty or give me death. Those are not empty words. This is about saving America. Those are not empty words. Yet on our channel, you see this QAnon as a far-right conspiracy theory detailing a supposed secret plot by an alleged deep state against United States President Donald Trump and his supporters. Happening on almost all Q channels now with this wiki link. You see any other videos with a wiki link other than Q stuff? You think the people at Wiki are about saving America? I'm really glad that that worked because I didn't want to have to read all that because it's very emotional. And thank you, Kiwi and Sue, for putting that together for us and for motivating us to do that, because that is some kind of powerful. And please share the link out there. I'm sure they did. It is some kind of powerful. We are fighting an invisible enemy. We are fighting an invisible enemy. We are fighting an invisible enemy. Your president is telling you that over and over again. How many of your fellow Americans understand what the Federal Reserve is? How many of them know that the Federal Reserve is a private bank? Much less how many know that it's in charge of the whole worldwide monetary system. This is a document from Shaping the Decline of the USA from, the guy's name is Coleman, Tavistock Engineering. And in here, they talk about the overtake of every system in America. Since 1969, these institutions have been expanded and a great many new ones added to the network and are funded not only by large private corporate donations, but also by the United States government itself. Tavistock's clients include the State Department, the U.S. Postal Service, Department of Defense, the CIA, the U.S. Navy Department of Naval Intelligence, the National Reconnaissance Office, the NRO, the National Security Council, the FBI, Kissinger and Associates, Duke University, State of California, Georgetown University, and many more. In the private and corporate areas of our society, Tavistock clients include Hewlett-Packard, RCA, Crown Zero, McDonnell Douglas, IBM, Microsoft, Apple, Computers, Boeing, Kaiser Industries, TRW, Blythe Eastman Dillon, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Bechtel Corp, Halliburton, Raytheon. All of these are under the direct control of the trust of the Fed. Stanford Research Center, MIT, University of Pennsylvania, Management, Behavioral Research, Rand Corporation, National Training Labs, employs 700 people. This information, this book came out 25, 30, more than 30 years ago. This is the blueprint. Zero growth in agriculture and industry. America's post-industrial society. Wrote this, the death of the steel industry. Who's bringing the steel industry back? Which I provide details of how French aristocrat Etienne Davignon of Club of Rome was given the task of downsizing the American steel industry. This task of downsizing the American steel industry was superimposed over every industry on America, and it was all packed up in little bows and shipped to China. There it went. Right to China. And then here we go. Oh, Walmart. Oh, Walmart. Cheap, 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 cheap. Oh, Walmart. Cheap, cheap. I've got to have it the cheapest. It's got to be the cheapest. I can't pay what something's worth. Not because I wouldn't, but because my money doesn't allow me to. Because my wealth was stolen from me, and I'm no longer allowed to have things that are good and functional and competent and that work for me and that I could keep around. I mean, I'm old enough to remember whenever I was young, my grandparents had stuff that they had from when they were younger that still worked. And we have this whole generation of millennials out there who have never even seen anything that worked to begin with, much less the stuff that they have still works. They got to buy new stuff every 3 years. Engineered obsolescence comes from Tavistock. Comes from taking away greatness. It comes from taking away excellence. It comes from taking away spirit. It comes from taking away hope. It comes from taking away your wealth, ladies and gentlemen, your wealth. All of it taken away. By this entity, the Federal Reserve. What's so federal about the Federal Reserve? How was it taken away? Right here. Picture puzzle. Graph. Show. Tariffs. United States. Income tax. Wow, look at that. No such thing as an income tax up until 1913. Huh. Why is this relevant? Look at your tariffs. Far right column. Tariffs. Leading up. Matching to years here. Years on the left. 15, 30, 25, 35, 44, 36% tariffs. And all of a sudden, soon as they started getting this little category right here, these two categories, payroll tax and income tax, wow. Look at them tariffs go to nowhere land. All the way down 2010 to 1.3%, working their way to zero. But these numbers just keep going up. Why do they keep needing to take your money? Every year, more and more. Our Constitution is organized to where tariffs pay the bills of the country, not your income. Did your forefathers get on a boat and throw a bunch of tea in the harbor so that you could later on be taxed to death? Is that why they did it? Or so you're telling me that our forefathers attacked the largest empire ever on planet Earth so that we could be taxed to death today? That's what you're telling me. And then on top of that, you're telling me to be afraid. Be very. You think the Spanish flu was organic? Do you think that Spanish flu was not an engineered false flag op, just like World War I, just like World War II, just like Vietnam, just like the counterculture movement, just like Iraq, just like 9/11, just like Oklahoma City, Waco, Branch Davidians, you name it. What's the difference? What's the difference in that and what we saw the general say yesterday about you're not going to make it past Jump Street? The world works in cycles. The deep state works in cycles. And I, along with all of you wonderful anons, are here to break the wheel. We're here to break the wheel. That's why we came here. It's what we came here to do. We came here to break this wheel. to destroy their narrative. We have broken them, Anons. You have broken them. Just us. Simple bunch of people with computers moving information around on websites. Wow, that really did it? Wow, that really did it. An amazing operation to download the most unbelievable mass of information in history called Q. Of the team, less than 10, 3 non-military. Less than 10 people had the whole picture, except for hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Anons worldwide. We had the full picture. This doesn't just die in America. This system of corruption will die on planet Earth because we didn't just wake up a few. We didn't just wake up the 3% of revolutionary patriots within the borders of this country. We woke up the world. And right now you're seeing the world fight back. The owners of the world are fighting back. And this was their little plan, just like they ran their little op way back when. And it isn't just this. I'm going to sit here and tell you that the Black Plague was the same thing over and over and over. They call the herd over and over and over, and we are tired of it. And you've got a man who sits currently at the head of this. Think things aren't happening? How many arrests is it going to take for those who need to see arrests to see? And I made the point today on the show, I don't care if we don't see any. As long as my government starts to function as it should. As long as people start to act in a way that creates transparency. As long as money going out is accounted for, accountable. There's a lot going on. A lot going on. And we have this gentleman to thank for it. And we talk about the slings and arrows our POTUS has taken. There's not very many out there that have taken as many as this man, General Flynn. Look at what they did to him. Look at what the media went along with. If they did it to him, if they did it to the president, you don't think they'll do it to you or any other person that becomes a, what? Whack-a-mole? Stick your head up and you get whacked. This is April 1st. Michael Flynn's lawyer says his client was prepared to audit Obama spy officials before getting set up. Define motive. What would be the motive for the Obama administration to and the media to smear him if he were going to go after the hundreds of millions of off, if not billions of off books money that are being used to run the global worldwide drug cartels? Do you think that the CIA has competition? Do you think the CIA has competition? Or do you think the CIA is pretty good at making sure they mop up the competition? He was going to audit the intel agencies because he knew about the billions Brennan and company were running off books, Powell said, referring to former CIA Director Brennan. Powell offered no evidence during the interview to support the claim, but her comments echo the findings to investigative journalist Lee Smith. This was 2 days ago. In addition to General Flynn's name being cleared, I hope that this initiative helps to get to the bottom of what these people were doing to audit the intelligence community. That's something else we need to look at again, Smith said, as well as an initiative to clean out the deep state. You are here because of him. You are an army of digital soldiers because of him. You know, a long time ago, back in the early 90s, whenever I first started looking into this stuff, you want to know one thing that scared the bejeebus out of me? It was whenever I started reading all of the memorandum, that were going around within our military that were being exposed by patriots in the militia as asking our military men, would you fire upon American citizens? Mm-hmm. And you know what they were doing to the people that said they wouldn't? That's right. They wouldn't get promoted. And you know what they did to the people that said they would and didn't care? Top of the list, baby. Put yourself in this man's shoes for 5 seconds and imagine what he must have went through. Imagine the inner turmoil you would have if it meant your whole life. Would you take the rubber bullet? Would you stand up? Because that's when being a patriot really matters, isn't it? And in this movement, we are surrounded by patriots. In the Q movement, we are surrounded by patriots. We're also infiltrated by clowns. So we have motive for Michael Flynn, General Flynn, to be targeted. Right there. Proven that this is what he was doing. What would be the reaction by a global, worldwide, financial, Kabbalistic, tyrannical, dictatorial deep state? They would bring the hammer of hell towards you without any ammo left in the can. You are here because he was here. The ties that bind you. The ties that bind you. This was just out today. DOJ prosecutors ask for delay in Michael Flynn case while defense fights for dismissal. Now, wait a minute. You're talking about a prosecution that had a plea deal. General Flynn rescinded the plea deal, so you should already be ready for trial. What do you need time for? Look at how we're rooting them out. Status report filed by prosecutors Friday, today, in anticipation of a scheduled hearing on April 3rd. Justice prosecutor stated in the status report that the documents provided by Flynn's former legal counsel with Covington and Burling are voluminous, span numerous topics that arose during Covington's 30-month representation of Mr. Flynn and include many pages of sometimes difficult to decipher handwritten notes. The government needs additional time to digest the information and any additional information that Covington may provide. Status report stated, in order to allow the government adequate time to review the materials that have been produced and the request, receive, and review any follow-up information or documents, the government respectfully asks the court to allow the government 3 additional weeks to provide a further status update and, if feasible, a proposed briefing schedule. No! Why is it not? No! You're talking about a human being that you were basically forced him to make a plea deal, or you would arrest his kid tomorrow. What would you do? The moment he makes that plea deal, boom, smeared in the mainstream media from head to toe, top to. I still have friends that think Michael Flynn is a traitor because they don't understand the complexity of this, because they only see the media. Remember what we said and what we read there. Once repeated over and over and over again, does it become fact? And the answer is yes. Even though it isn't fact, it becomes fact. And so we have this example of what you're seeing here with the case against General Flynn. And then just recently, this past week, here we have Hillary Clinton alleging she is too important as a former government official to be required to comply with federal court order to testify and answer questions by email misconduct. I believe the response to it. What? Too important? She ran the State Department of the United States of America. And she thinks she's too important? Why do we have a two-tiered justice system? And is that a problem? And are we going to continue to get loud about it? John Durham investigation intensifying, focusing on John Brennan, April 3rd, 2020. U.S. Attorney John Durham's review of the Russian investigation is putting increased scrutiny on former CIA Director John Brennan, searching for any undue influence he may have had during the 2017 intelligence community assessment of Russian interference. Durham, selected by Attorney General Barr last year, led his inquiry, drove to Washington, D.C. in March to ensure the investigation stayed on track during the coronavirus outbreak. They're not dropping the ball, ladies and gentlemen. The top Connecticut federal prosecutor is looking into highly sensitive issues, including whether Brennan took politicized actions to pressure the rest of the intelligence community to make his conclusions about Russian Vladimir Putin motivations, according to sources. Drip, drip, drip turns to blood. And it's going to happen fast. Bunch of these news articles coming out today. Wow. For those who think nothing is happening, of course. What do we have here? Charles Lieber, Harvard University Chemistry Department, was arrested. This is March. This is it's a little while back, December 9th, for lying to agents in collaboration with the Wuhan University, alleging espionage of high-tech IPs to China. December 9, Labor's PRC spy stole 21 vials of biological specimens, attempting to smuggle them out of the United States aboard a flight destined for China. Federal officials at Logan Airport discovered the vials hidden in a sock inside luggage. You won't get past Jump Street with a full arm of the United States military currently protecting our homeland. And I'm of the opinion that we don't know exactly what it is going on. Maybe it's about rescuing the children. Maybe it's about a Chinese invasion. I don't know. Or a Chinese nuclear sub attack. I don't know. But what they're saying is going on with coronavirus is not what is happening. Yes, there are people dying, but the curve is not exponential. It isn't occurring. We're still not anywhere close to, I think it's like 40 million people a year in America get the flu. Every year. What are we really looking at? What's really going on? I'm going to play you a few minutes of this video just to give some people an idea of some of the stuff that looks like it might be happening. I'm not guaranteeing any of this. This is a video put out day before yesterday, and it gives you a little bit of research and some background and understanding of what it is it's under your feet, other than dirt and pavement.
Their intel, how much all the flooding, all the dams in the world would take. And it would drop the ocean level so vast that it could cause another ice age, because if you drop it too far, you get down into the big currents that circulate through the ocean. Like in the Atlantic, you have the Gulf Stream, and then you have the Horatio current and all of those different currents. And if you upset those currents and the ocean flows, you can literally upset the entire ecosystem of the world. And so they decided they had to use hand-to-hand combat on land, as well as certain advanced techniques that they've just recently come upon. Like they took out the dam in Twin Falls, in which they blew a hole in a lava tube that is part of the supervolcano of Yosemite. And in doing so, they flooded that facility down to the deep dumps. Now, these ones are the ones that go extremely deep and are very, very ancient. Back when the Satanics first came here, it goes into the hole that Admiral Byrd went into that is in the Arctic, and all of the bases up in Siberia, the deep, extremely deep satanic bases of the satanic beings and the demons. So what you're seeing here is the demonic stuff, the really deep, really evil stuff. That's why it says at the bottom, Wiccacraft. That's, black magic, Satanism, satanic magic, and all of that, casting incantations and spells. And all of this is very dark and deep and evil. And so the battle down there is very horrendous, but the connections underneath the ocean are gone. Those have been blown and flooded. So they don't have the maglev trays going from continent to continent anymore.
This is the last stronghold of the satanic Illuminati, ancient evil Nephilim bloodlines of Cain. Evidence of this battle can be seen with the fires coming out of sewers, storm holes, drains, and manholes, covers in California.
In Alaska, there was and cleaned out the Brooks Range and two bases, which were the Delta Junction and Fort Greely, which are in the same area. In Arizona, there's Fort Hawaka, or West rather, excuse me. And intelligence, this was used for intelligence training, mind control, genetics, and detention in a detention camp for renegade civilian amps and rounding up people when they do their end times. Luke Air Force Base, that's now under White Hat control. Gates Pass Base, that's now under White Hat control. Gila Mountain Area, that's now under White Hat control. And then there's the Grand Wash Cliffs, that's still under the dark side. It's the western edge of the cliffs at the head of Grapevine Wash. It must be reached via Highway 93 and unpaved roads. There's Green Valley. Then under White Hat control is Hualapai Mountains east of the mountain range, 35 miles southeast of Kingman. That's out on the way out to Las Vegas from Flagstaff, Arizona. Then you have Rincon Mountain, north side of Rincon Mountain. And I'll just from now on, if it's under White Hat control, I'll say afterwards. Mount Lemmon, Page goes all the way under Hoover Dam and the reservoir. Safford, Santa Catalina Mountains, the Sedona, Arizona detainment camp located under the Enchantment Reservoir Resort in Boynton Canyon. And then under White Hat control, the Wickiup complex. And that one was just found in the process of cleaning up some other things, and they took it out when they found it. Then there's the Yucca Mountains. You can actually see this as you drive on I-40. If you're driving towards California, it's on your right, and it's easily, you'll see four massive large power cables penetrating into the side of the mountain for that Yucca Mountain. There's a picture of the facility where you go in right there.
Look at that.
Then we have in Arkansas a White Hat now controlled facility in the vicinity of Hardy and Cherokee Village. This is taken under White Hat control during Hurricane Dorian. And then we have the Pine Bluff, 34 degrees, 13.4 north, 92 degrees, 1 minute west. And that's still under the Dark Hat side. In California, that was an article we saw at the beginning where that's where they started the takeover of all of the massive interconnected California system. 29 Palms Marine Base is now under White Hat control. It was identified in military airspace area as our area R2501, which means it's a no-fly zone. And that was southeast of Ludlow, California. China Lake, that was completely neutralized and taken out through the Ridgecrest tunnels. They collapsed them as they came in. Then they did a series of 3 tactical nukes. The first blast was at 6.4. Second one was at 7.1. And another one followed that at 6.1. And for those that understand earthquakes, your initial shock is the highest. Aftershocks aren't lower. So that's not natural. It's really obvious that was intentional. And then you can see the link there about this, which completely made the China Lake base that was on the surface have to be completely rebuilt due to that large facility. And people freak out when I tell them this, but that was a Mark Ultra base, what they call a spark grid, where they have a large nuclear blast that followed that out. They come in and lay hundreds of layers of steel flooring with cages in them that they put children in. When the special forces, a large group of special forces came in, they rescued 35,927 children from this facility. It was one of the primary Mark Ultra development facilities on Earth. So thank God for our military, like Trump says and Q says, because that's a lot of children that, you know, that were going through horrendous situation. It's just, you know, they're in these cages and lights and bells go off and they get electrocuted all the time and mistreated badly to, you know, turn them into Mark Ultra slave bots.
I'm going to stop it there. Mod's probably dropped that link to you already if you would like to go catch that whole broadcast. I understand he was saying some very salacious things there, but this is what I think is going on. This is what I think we've been seeing over these different operations, Dorian, the earthquake in China Lake, all of these different events that have happened since Q started to drop. I believe that we have been consistently in operations to save the children. I'm not sure it's like one last ditch huge effort like some people are claiming. Very possibly could be. I don't know, but I think we've been in the process of saving them ever since Q told us that we were saving them. Getting back to the ties that bind you. The ties that bind you are mental as well as spiritual. The ties that bind you are not permanent. Bonds can be broken. And just like with my friends early on in my life, and just like with the Federal Reserve and the president right now, and just like with all of this information, we are breaking the chains that bind us together. That is why you have such an emotional connection to Q. Because not only are you seeing your patriots and countrymen, but you're also seeing them work together for a common goal. Common goal is not getting to the Knicks game. The common goal is making sure we don't lose another 600,000-700,000 kids to who knows what next year and rescue those who are in harm's way now. It's been tough for me to not be here with you and doing this program. But I've also realized that I left you in very good shape. I left you unified and strong. And now I've found you again with the Q Lounge tonight, unified and strong. Interesting. Armed with the truth. Armed with the light. This was a very interesting post by Jim Brewer yesterday. I'm going to see if this might play.
Oh, wow. There we go. There we go. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? So many people held hostage. Dark tunnels. But you know what? Keep the spirits high, you don't give up, and you shed light. When you shed light, you see a lot of truth. It's just like that movie. What does Nicholson say? You can't handle the truth. Well, it is what it is. Sometimes you put light on it, and it really, it's just like that saying, it sets you free. It really does. It really does. I'll tell you what, hopefully shed some light on real situations. People stuck as hostage. So many people. The light, and all of a sudden the truth is there, and hopefully you can handle the truth. Keep lifting spirits. The energy that you've been given, the good feelings, it's going around. It works, whether police, whatever people don't believe, that's fine. That's fine. Don't worry about them. We understand each other. keep lifting spirits, keep putting good vibes out there, shed light into those tunnels, save those hostages. Enjoy the day. Keep your spirits high, and thanks for all the great, great energy. Look at the light. Will you just look at it? Look at it.
That didn't seem like he was just saying stuff, did it? This is power. This is how we work together. This is how we identify the difference between a comrade or an ally and an adversary. Right, I said it. A direct adversary. If you did not catch the Matrix Groove show yesterday, I recommend you catch it, because we discussed this, went through it, broke the whole thing down, and tormented our audience for almost 2 hours over it. Infiltration instead of invasion. Get it? Division, Tavistock, Luciferian, Kabbalistic control of our world. It is found. Sex trafficking and child exploitations bust in the first month of Trump's presidency. 42 Tennessee, 474, 28 children in LA, Pennsylvania, San Diego, New Orleans, Illinois, Haiti, Texas, Super Bowl. Not to mention all of the cartel members that were just taken down. Not to mention 160,000 sealed indictments still under seal. Notice, speaking of seal, have you noticed that since the president took over the Federal Reserve, the seal is no longer on the podium? Notice that? And look at this. Look what we have here. President Trump campaign has been quietly calling local restaurants and ordering large amounts of food to be delivered to hospitals in an effort to feed doctors, nurses, and first responders and support local restaurants. See anybody reporting this story? Why are we not getting as many people reporting this story as are reporting this frickin' story? Shift drafting legislation to set up 9/11 style commission to review coronavirus response. You know what this means. This means your president is about to endure another wave of subpoenas and attacks. Not after the coronavirus mayhem that they're causing that isn't real is over. No, during. Not after, during. It's pretty epic whenever you see it like that, right? I hope that helps you understand a little bit more of the drive that's in me and the drive that's in Matrix and all the great moderators who spend countless hours here on the channel with you, helping, red pilling. Who do you think we're speaking for? You think Matrix and I are speaking for ourselves every day on the air? Again, we speak for those who cannot speak. We speak for those whose voices have been taken away. And if you will notice that the media narrative never speaks for one of us. They speak for illegal immigrants. They speak for Chinese people who are, supposedly being attacked because the president is calling this China virus. China virus. China virus, China virus, China virus. It came from China. China. The place where they had complete control. China. The place where we saw men and women, young and old, in the streets of Hong Kong in November, waving American flags and singing the national anthem to the United States of America. This is a fight to save your country. Now all of a sudden, there's no protesters in China. You get it? I don't care about the voices that say, oh, no, I don't know. I'm not believing in this Q thing anymore. I don't care. I don't care about the voices that say, oh, I'm Q. I don't care. I don't care about the voices that say, I know Q. I don't care about them. They are irrelevant to me. They are irrelevant to you. Don't give them 5 freaking seconds of your time. They deserve none of it. You are Q. We are Q. United, we stand. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's my agenda. That's Matrix agenda. That's all the moderators out here in the chat's agenda. And then you know what we're going to do? We're going to have a big ego about it, and we're going to superimpose freedom on the rest of the world. We're going to teach you about transparency. We're going to teach you about accountability in government. We're going to teach you that you do not have to stay in the pen. Yes, there's going to be resistance. Yes, there's going to be blood. Yes, there's going to be strife. They're not going to quit easy. But I'm telling you what, we take down the Federal Reserve, we get the Federal Reserve completely restructured and put back under the organization of the Office of President of the United States and the Treasury, then all of a sudden, interest-based debt lending on planet Earth will start to go away, and enslavement will soon follow. There is no difference between human trafficking and slavery and what it was the people that stood up to the largest empire on planet Earth 200 plus years ago were trying to do. They were trying to get themselves out of slavery. They didn't want to be slaves. They didn't want to be chattel. They didn't want to be on the sea. They didn't want to be controlled by the Holy See. They wanted to be a man, woman of God, walking on the land of flesh and blood. And our complacency over the last 100 years has let them run their game relentlessly on us. And look at you now. It didn't work. Why? Because you're here. Thumb your nose at that. It didn't work because all of you are here. It didn't work because we are bringing pain. It didn't work because we have broken them. You guys have. We did it together. We did it together. Where we go one, we go all is not just words on paper. That Q post that all of these great moderators read, those Q posts, those were not words on paper. And whenever you hear that sign off Q, wow, doesn't that just uplift your spirits? Q. Very simple. Nameless. Faceless. You are Q. We are Q. There is nothing they can do to stop you. Get that? There's 110% nothing they can do to stop this movement. You get that? Nothing. I want to thank everybody out there for coming around tonight. Please feel free to post in the YouTube comments below. If someone comes around and asks you a question, maybe help them out. If you can't help them, maybe send them to one of us. Maybe that we can, because we are here to spread the notion that there is a clear line between the truth and the lie. The lie is that they are the global elite. The truth is that you are the global elite. You are the ones that bring freedom. You are the ones that stand for truth. You are the ones that answer the call when your country calls you. Freedom, love, light. That's who we are. That's where we walk. That's who we represent. They cannot take that from you. They cannot take it from you. They can imprison you. They can drive you down. They can take everything that you own, but they cannot take your spirit. They cannot take your love of country. They cannot take your love of your fellow Americans, and they cannot take away your love of this great land. And by all means, we have become the blockade. You are now the blockade. They no longer control you. Much love, everybody. Thank you so much. Please, if you want to help out the channel, join our members Discord out there. You can come over and hang out with us sometimes and see what we're doing behind the scenes. It's really fun getting to know the people and having some fun, cutting up, joking around, but also doing some digging. If you'd like to catch and find some other great anons, Jordan Sather, Praying Medic, Serial Brain 2, iPod, Lisa Mae Crowley, Dustin Nemos, JT Wild, X22 Report, Anon Decoder, Blessed to Teach, Carly Bonet, I hope she's out there, Stormy Patriot Joe, Soylent Green, Paul Saran, everybody, thank you. Had a little technical difficulties at the beginning, but buddy, we got this one off, I think. We actually did it. You guys are amazing. I cannot believe we're a part of this. I can't believe you are winning so thoroughly, patriots, brethren, countrymen. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you next time on the Q Lounge Live.
See the biz on deal. When I roll 20 deep, so it's